Okay, greetings everyone, greetings whole community. We're gonna start right now. So yes, let's make an announcement for tomorrow on Wednesday, since there's a lot of people who are gonna arrive right now and who gathered before. Some of the people didn't stay for the last minute, so let's put it that way. First of all, the topics of the Wednesday tomorrow Zoom. We're going to be partners who work with network and partnership program, terms and conditions of such programs, and also decisions that were made by the council doing the multi-accounts and bridges that happening in different teams. Yes, we make something most painless decision for the community with the rehabilitation time frame for those people who did something wrong or maybe violate rules a little. So there is actually two topics we're gonna discuss today. First of all, we started the boost. Yes, that's what we did. And part of the countries currently are restricted from the boost. There is explanation for that. We're gonna get to that very first hand. Also, we're gonna cover the topic of contracts because there's a simple one, the complex one, and those that weren't accounted by the company due to the fact that there was no reinvest from the members and there was no auto withdrawal or connected wallet, and that make a system not account such contracts. And we're gonna get deep dive into the details and how that happened with the whole process. So first of all, we of course talking about the boost. By the statistic, through 3 hours, we have a number of 15 Bitcoin, which is quite a lot. And yes, we're gonna here, as we mentioned before, in the system, if a partner not participate in the boost, he not receive rewards from that boost that connected to it, which means the volumes, acquiring new ranks through the boost statistics, rewards. Even if it's your direct partner, you will not receive rewards by his action through the boost. And that's decision, such steps already make the company save up to 5 Bitcoin, which is a lot. And yes, about banned countries from participating in Boost, there is those partners, members who are from certain countries, they cannot participate in the Boost program. The very reason of that people from that countries, they were really showed disrespect and they showed an accurate understanding and also replying on certain actions of the company, as well as make gossips, make disturbance, and whole not mutual respect. So yes, that decision was made to not create flooding with such behavior. So yes, now we have a more accurate statistic for the first boost and a little for the second one. If we're talking about the numbers, then for the first boost, the company acquired $3 million in equivalent in Ethereum, and by whole payments, by partnership program, by cashback, by whole system, during the first boost was $5,146,000, which is quite a lot. And it's understandable that we have acquired a great number here. And yes, about getting access to the boost from countries that was banned in 𝗖𝗍, mostly in such community, we were having a council meeting. Council, it's meaning the whole top leaders gathered together and we discussing certain questions that include strategic value and future steps of the company. And there was request on such matter. So if there should be some exception from the leader is getting request on getting access to boost, not investor. We're not gonna check the investor's request on that matter, but the leader, because it's leader who's supposed to lead their community and who's responsible to educate their community, their team members together, so there not be any problems, gossips, or other dishonest behavior. I I'm really excited that you keep giving reactions in chat. You're not supposed to do that constantly, but okay, it's gonna be very fun. If you keep going to do that, I may even make it a constant thing to meet with you every single week. And yes, okay, if we going back to the requested that were sent yesterday and today, we're gonna check them out within an hour. And then we're gonna make a conclusion by judging the quantity and quality of such requested to open the access to the boost from restricted countries to certain communities from their leaders. Okay, so since we passed the topic and everything is clearly now for everyone, let's get to the second one, which is the contracts. We already reply on the question about the models from different leaders and partners, but now we're gonna get a deep dive once again inside the engine of the contracts, how they work, especially the main two which is the simple and complex. And also we're going to talk about the third one, which is not supposed to be and work not exactly as intended. Yes, now let's get to the first type of contract, which is the standard. That's as we named it. It consists of the basic parts, one contract and one invoice. It can be described as step-by-step steady contract because if we know average percent, like if we open it on the Ether, it's 2%, for example, and we have the some average number of days that we multiply by number of average percent, then we have a very steady number on how much should be past days, so when the contract gonna give you profit and when it's gonna be closed, because you know the information, how much income you will get and when the contract will be closed. Also, for that matter, one of the future features we're gonna have, it's gonna be the separate section for the contracts to make calculation on the simple standard contracts and also with complex how much you will receive with different type of reinvest or with this percent, with this amount of days and so on. That's gonna be one of the next features. Имеется в виду раньше положенного. Больше,
Ну
чем
да,
всё.
да, да.
Yes. The second one is the complex contracts, the very type of contracts that include reinvest, that include many various interactions, and exactly from that appear the third type of contract that may arise a lot of questions, which include such as where did you get our money? Why did you take them from me? And but if you're gonna summarize it to something more understandable and with criticism, why I mean, for example, in USDT, my contract have a certain percent, but it's closed more earlier than it should be done. Why is it happened? Because well, I done nothing to make it so. With percentage, something gone wrong than it's supposed to be. And if we go into the complex contracts, the very reason why we call it like that is because there's not only deposit, but also reinvest by the contract on work on the exchange where the network rewards get an exchange in volume added to the contract. And it means like one contract and many invoices. And contracts, they supposed to give a certain profitability, and we're gonna get more into that. And yes, if we go into details about the complex contract, like for example, let's make a little image here. I make a deposit in 1000 USDT because yes, I wanted to check how the company works with the arbitration, and there is an obligation for 250%, which is 2500 USDT. I checked that their processes are right. I really satisfied with their work, how they done, and I add in more. I add in 10,000 USDT to the deposit, and that means the percentage I receive, the volume is increased, and the profitability is supposed to increase as well. And it lead to situation like what actually happening? If in the current case, in the initial one, I would receive $50, for example, with the increased deposit, I receive 500 USDT. And by the book, it's supposed to be like if we put two contracts, divided them separately, the same amount of deposits for calculation. But in fact, we receive that for one contract, it could be possible to have 150 invoices, which is enormous. We didn't calculate that we supposed to have something like that on the paper. But yes, if we gonna make some calculation, then we gonna see that you receive exactly the amount of profit you supposed to receive, even despite that it's happening to be a very, very complicated contract with a lot of invoices. I guess I made a mistake by telling that we opened the requested for getting access to the boost. Let me just close Telegram for this Zoom, at least for that time, because there's a lot of requested already. So yes, that means that if certain individuals actually didn't put they wallets and didn't turn on after withdrawals, and at the same time didn't turn on reinvest, it would mean that the funds is accumulated on the account, but they also not they not accounted by the system. There's no new invoices. They're not counted by a financial system. And there's also when the active assets get withdrawn, there are some amounts that could not be withdrawn because it's not in the system. We can see that, we can check it. But that was fixed. We make a correction. Now there is a bot with a certain purpose for that. If for some reason a member didn't put a wallet for after withdrawal and in the same time didn't turn on the reinvest, the bot analyzed such partner for 48 hours. And if the reinvest wasn't turned on, it turned it on. That's the answer on very massive questions that happens. Like, I didn't turn on the reinvest. Why it's turned on by itself? So leaders, please listen to this information and spread it across your community because it's important. If a member not connect his wallet for after withdrawals and also not turn on the reinvest to actually liquidate such backdoor for certain individuals who try to abuse the system. The bot now fix this problem and make reinvest happening from time to time. So there's going to be no funds that was not accounted by the financial system, by our resource, and we're not going to face that problem ever again. So yes, that means it's the problem of the company that's on us because this was a system error with the site from the system as well. But also, since it's our problem, we didn't make anything toward the partners, make withdrawals from them or something like that. But also for the partners, it means some bad sides because the volume that was actually displayed in the web version is not accounted by the system, and in both sides it means we didn't receive 10% from the whole income, and the partner also didn't receive his 5% because there was funds that not accounted. And yeah, the problem was on our side and we fixed it. So yes, now there shouldn't be any problem with that because every 48 hours when we gonna track a partner who don't have the activated reinvest and in the same time not have the wallet for auto withdrawal, then there's gonna be a forced reinvest and the volume will be accounted and we have our percent, you have your percent. Everything simple. And yes, if we're gonna cover the whole process of contracts for new members and some old members who start in new contracts, yes, now there is a separate window because we have a certain payment we supposed to do, the responsibility to pay the obligation to 150%. And after that, the company acquired the deposits that you make initially to themselves in their capitalization. And such information was initially in the contract. You could check that as well. But now since we had some questions from partners who either didn't knew or didn't listen to the leaders or me personally or different Zoom calls with information about that the contract's supposed to come into an end when the company fulfilled their purpose and their obligation because it's two-side contracts nonetheless. And yes, of course, now every time when the bot is supposed to be activated, especially that's mostly for the new members, a separate informational tab appears with the contract, with the terms, conditions. You're supposed to read it and accept. And after that, we have the data and time when you actually sign that contract, that you actually get acquainted with the information. We have email of a person who gets signed for the contract. So yes, now they're supposed to be no complaints and accusation to the company. We are saved from that, to be accused that the contract is ended and we took the money, which is not, of course. And also, it should help the leaders to make them answer on the questions from partners and other investors on how the contract work, because, well, it basically is information in the face. And now, about the boost, I have a really urgent message from the IT department and support. For those members, those partners who activated for the boost, who become active and participate in this program, you will receive your rewards for the network program and for other programs on the balance right away with one amount at the end of the boost program. That decision were made because since we go in by a different route with your arbitration, because we go into the arbitration pro. Sometimes during the constant rewards and when the volume is activated for partners who activated for the boost, sometimes it's mislead to people who not supposed to receive it, who not participate in the boost, and to avoid such situations. Yes, the whole amount or the whole volume that is going to be gathered during the boost program and whole rewards are going to be acquired on your balance and in your team effort volume at the end of the boost. That's supposed to fix the problem and not make mistakes happen. And about the contracts that we talked today, that we discussed, the whole bunch of that information going to be added FAQ. So it's not going to be overcomplicated. Any member can actually get into this section and check the questions we actually covered today. And there's not many type of contracts to get confused. So yes, I recommend every leader and every partner to get acquainted with that information in a web version. And now let's get to the next topic, to some questions from partners. And yes, about the third boost in the third quarter, of course, everything within our roadmap. It's going to be from July to October, as such time frame. About the cryptocurrency that we're going to choose, there was request from partners, a lot of them. So we're going to make a certain optimization of that. And gonna try to tell the exact the currency that's gonna be on boost program 2 days before the actual boost gonna start, and that should also optimize the whole process and the flow into the program. And yes, once again, the time frame for the third boost. First one was in the first quarter, the second in the second, and the third, the actual time frame is from July to October. And the next question is about the ton. The minimum deposits, it's already in the section of limits. You could check that as well. About the release window, it's gonna be on Thursday or on Friday, within these 2 exact days. I was also having a question about the current condition of this cryptocurrency, its current stage on the market. I actually, when it's going to be released, let's see at that point from there, but to not make a too far prognosis or forecast, Okay, let's make a little statistic here. By 2 days, like yesterday and after yesterday, it was 6% and 12%. Yes, such spread. Exactly. Even 𝗥𝗏𝗰 on that background is more stable and it's in the speed category, actually. But nevertheless, Ton is mostly going against the market. That's the very reason why holders like such token, but traders not so satisfied with using this asset. But nevertheless, in arbitrage, we could still use this to our advantage because its income is colossal, but also can have volatile behavior when it's going to be less or smaller. But nevertheless, we could use that to our advantage for the whole team, for the investors, and for the company. And yes, about the rewards from the partnership, from the network program, the volumes, the rank opening, if we get into the statistic by the ARP speed, there is 1,000 partners who already created contracts on 𝗥𝗏𝗃. There's also a lot of requests on Ton, those who really want to get their deposits in that cryptocurrency in the future when it's going to be released. But there is, of course, very important condition here to actually get volumes, get rewards, get positions, ranks, acquire them. With the speed program, you actually need at least one contract in any cryptocurrency from the speed section. At the current moment is 𝗥𝗏𝗃, of course, to get rewards and volumes and so on from that category. At least one contract, one cryptocurrency. There's 1,000 partners already on that cryptocurrency from the speed section. So yes, please don't hesitate if you really want to get anything from this. Okay, yeah, I guess it's time to slowly wrap it up because it's almost hours we're talking. Since all members still here, let's summarize. Tomorrow we're going to talk about partnership program, about the networks, about this decision that were made by the council, the conclave, by the in turn to the partners who using some tools like multi-accounting, bridges, and so on to get some benefits from the company in appropriate way. Because there was certain decisions on that matter. There was going to be a rehabilitation period. So yes, don't miss tomorrow's Zoom. And we have plenty of time and plenty of topics to cover by the whole week because we're going to meet each day up to Friday. But tomorrow we're gonna talk specifically about the network direction. So it's important for every member, the leaders, and those who actually get something from the partnership network program. It's really important. Don't miss it. Actually, I received two questions from the support, especially personally for me from technical department. First of them is why you need so much money, so much funds, and why you do in the monetization of products. Well, of course, there is explanation for that. The amount of partners is constantly growing, as well as the amount of registration is always growing. That means more people getting acquainted with the company, with arbitration, and with the network program. They gather the volume, they receiving rewards, they gain ranks, they gain cashback, and for everything we need to cover it with somehow, and we need to make profit ourselves during the night time, the 10% that we're receiving from profit, and also they're supposed to be balanced. There's supposed to be proportions to actually acquire such rewards ourselves to provide it for people. So of course we need to grow as well with the community who is getting increased by really fast pace. And it does include the capitalization from the contract. When we pay out the whole obligation, we receive the deposit you initially put inside the arbitration. That's actually also make it possible for us to make such things as the boost program and include different features, different updates, and also provide for the whole network program rewards as a system at all. That's the very reason why we also need to grow and move forward to make it up and balance the proportions for ourselves and for the investor. That's the very reason why we acquire so much capitalization. And that was only the first question. Now to the second. And yes, the second question about the products, to what actually lead the button I accept to participate in the future products that gonna be made by the company. Partners who actually click that button gonna be activated and receive the link for Telegram and chat to get all the information that's going to be about the future products of the company on their language. It's going to be no gradation by the French, Spain, Russian, or other languages, all going to be international. So you on your own language could see the information about future products. And also, if we go into talk about the network part, some partners, yeah, they could start developing as a community, as a network community inside the product, if the product is allowed to use such system. Because, for example, if we take the casino and other type of products like that, it's complicated, it's hard, but nevertheless, it's possible. There is possibility to include the network part here, because we all know in such products as casino and booking, it's actually that the partners receive a percentage from the losses of other partners. It's not a secret here, but if it's possible to include the network part here, maybe we're gonna try to look into that. The links to the chat to Telegram gonna be activated within this week at the end on a Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. For those people who click the button, of course, who actually interested in other products of Arbcore, not only in arbitration. If you're not interested, it's fine. It's fine. You can use the core product of the company. And yes, there was actually another question that occurred basically right now. And yes, it's important to mention it now, even though it's about the Network Air Partnership Program. There was a question from those who are in the upline. They're asking why the volume is lower than for those who are currently below them. And there is a perfect explanation for that, because since you are on the upper level, your contracts and contracts on your level is actually closed faster than for those who are below you, because their time isn't come yet for the contracts to close and for the partners below. And it's natural process that's happening during the network program, especially with the contracts is going to an end and you need to open a new one. Arbcore is always not supposed to be one shot. It's supposed to be a long-term journey for everyone. And it was mentioned for those who on the very top of this team that the volume for 2.5 months could become zero if work not done, if everything stopped, because Arbcore is supposed to be a system where you always put in efforts, when you always walking forward, when you put your actual force inside and working, not just make a single boost and that's all. Yes, one last question. Yeah, yes, it's my promise. There was a question to Marika when there was a promised chat to be created for people to receive the inside information. And yes, that exact topic was raised by Alexei Frost. We're gonna create the chat for people who actually get to the certain reach of the volume to understand and receive inside information, but not only for the information, to actually get in voice and voting for certain movements, for different features, for different steps that made by the company, because such partners who actually reach to their volume that we put as strategically convenient and efficient, they're actually valuable for us, and their opinion is valuable too. And we gonna make it so to receive the information and also make it possible to affect what's happening in the company. For those partners who receive a certain volume, of course. Chat gonna be created and you will be invited inside it. Okay, now it's gonna be time to wrap it slowly up. Since we already covered everything here, it's gonna be with the same flow as today. Tomorrow we're gonna announce what's gonna be the topics for the next Zoom conference, where we're gonna sort every single detail about certain topics, and we're gonna get into details of what we're gonna talk on the next Zoom conference. And for the whole week, yes, we have a lot to talk about. So I hope you all get your attention. You actually have a perfect time and that you receive a valuable knowledge. Uh, I hope it was not boring. We make sure that it's not something to just chew on and go in. You need to discuss, you need to understand, and then get tomorrow for the next information. So yes, thank you all for participation. We're gonna see tomorrow on the next Zoom call, and as well as after tomorrow and after Friday. So yes, thank you all. Have a great day, night, evening, or morning, depending on your time frame, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye, and see you tomorrow.